Get me that signal. We need more power.
Quiet! Quiet! We have been sent to clean out your local village. We are the Werewolf Inquisition. We didn't expect the Werewolf Inquisition. Nobody expects the Werewolf Inquisition. We have heard reports of werewolves in your village, and we are here to clean them out. Please gather the most important villagers together in 3 rows of 4 villagers each, and we will begin. What gives you the right? The Grand High Inquisitor himself sent along this proclamation that explains everything. A terrible thing is happening in a local village. Werewolves are responsible for the death of many villagers. Unable to determine who amongst themselves are werewolves, they've called in a group of Master Inquisitors to help sort out this mess before it's too late. That's where you and your team come in. No stranger to werewolf infestations, you know what the best thing is to do when you start lynching suspects. You no sooner get started on this project when you discover that there's a problem. There are werewolves on your team of Inquisitors. Now you're in a serious pickle. You need to save the village while thwarting the werewolves who are working alongside you. Ultimate Werewolf Inquisition is a standalone game of deduction, secrets, and betrayal, with no elimination. Part of the fun is figuring out who on your team are the werewolves, but even then, you've still got to outsmart them. Wait, we didn't call you. Did you say werewolves among the Inquisition? You did call. It was someone named John. Yes, John. No, I didn't mention werewolves in the Inquisition. Only a werewolf would say something like that. Okay, I'll get them. Listen, don't tell the villagers, but I believe that the Inquisition itself has also been infiltrated by werewolves. We need to find the werewolves in our ranks before a panic ensues. Do you have any idea who the werewolf is? Okay, keep your eyes open. All right. After close examination, we have discovered that, you are a werewolf. What? No, I'm not. He's a werewolf. Look at his face. There are no werewolves in the Inquisition. You are the werewolf. Lynching time! Ha! Right. So that is done. Perhaps we should write down all of the key players and make our decisions from this friendly tavern. Let's use these cards here to go over our strategy. Ultimate Werewolf Inquisition from Bezier Games and designed by Ted Alspach is the newest version of Ultimate Werewolf. In this unique version of the game, the player elimination problem of other editions of Werewolf has been eliminated. How is this possible? Well, let me show you. The game is for 3 to 12 players, but you don't need a huge amount of players to get a lot of fun out of this game. There are 19 resident cards and 19 hut cards to go with each resident. Let me just show you the resident cards. Here's the Troublemaker, the Wolf Cub, ooh, scary, Cursed, the Mason, a Villager, and the rest of them are already down here on the board, and they're upside, they're face down. Each of them lives someplace as well, and this is where they live. See them? Okay, now you select 12 residents and their associated huts. The trick is that each resident card has a value, a point value at the bottom. You see this one? -5.
It's either positive or negative. -2, -1, +0. All the other ones are in the deck. You need to total 0 after selecting the 12 cards. The werewolves are worth -6 points each. The villagers are all worth various amounts of positive points. There are a couple of them that are 0 value cards too, just in case you end up needing them and need to throw in something extra at the end. The rules do suggest a starting lineup depending upon the number of players in the game. And here are the rules. Very thin. It's a very simple game, really. You don't need to strain your brain in your initial games, but it gives you a little something to play with later on, so it's kind of neat. The residents are shuffled in place face down in 3 rows of 4 cards, just like I have here. The huts are set up next to them in a similar grid, but they're face up. All of the players receive a random Inquisitor card. Now this tells them whether or not they are a werewolf. The number of werewolf players in the game is based on the number of players. And the first player is selected by some means, and they receive the Grand Inquisitor meeple. Now, remember, I didn't mention this, but you keep your what you are secret. Okay, so if you're a werewolf, you keep it down. If you're a villager, you keep it face down. It's a secret. So, here's the Grand Inquisitor meeple that the first player gets. They pass this to the next player each turn. So, the first night, the Grand Inquisitor tells all of the players to close their eyes. Then he tells the werewolves to open their eyes so that the werewolves know who the other werewolves are. And this is kind of just like in regular werewolf. In a 3 or 4 player game, you skip this step because there's only one werewolf, so, what's the point? Now everyone opens their eyes and the first day begins. Each player starts with 2 of these black cubes. These are votes, and they're also the currency of the game. Starting with the Grand Inquisitor, each player selects one of the huts on the table. They can choose to either perform the special action of the hut or take 2 additional votes from the vote pool. Now, the special actions are really your only way of figuring out which cards are werewolves and which ones are just villagers. The object of the game is to kill all of the werewolves. If at any time there are more werewolves left on the table than there are normal residents, then the werewolves win. A game will usually have about 4 werewolves in the village, and the Inquisition lynches 1 resident each day, while the werewolves eat 1 person each night. The residents do disappear quickly, and the game could end before you know it. If you find yourself with 5 resident cards left, but only 1 dead werewolf, then that's it, the game's over and the werewolves won. Because 3 of those 5 cards have to be werewolves. Okay, so back to the cards. The Seer card allows you to look at 1 resident card. You see? And so does the Apprentice Seer card. But the Apprentice Seer card says, pay 1 vote to view 1 card. So, you would take 1 of your votes, if you have it, throw it back into the bank, and then you get to pick up 1 of these cards and look. This card's a werewolf. You can't tell anybody else that, but you know now that that one is a werewolf. And it just costs you 1 vote to find out. Now, that's why the Seer is so powerful, because it doesn't cost you any votes. You just pick the Seer's card. She's usually the first one to go first, and then you get to look at 1 of them. The Mason also allows you to look at 1 of the player's Grand Inquisitor cards for a cost of 2 votes. He never lasts long. He's usually dead fairly quickly. I think I got the Mason right here, yes. Pay 2 votes to view someone's Inquisitor card, so you can look at some player's card to see if they're a werewolf. After each player has chosen a hut and decided what they want to do, it's time to vote on a resident card to lynch. Each player places 1 vote on 1 resident card, and the card with the most votes on it gets lynched. Their card's flipped over, and it's removed from the game along with their associated card. So you would pull out this werewolf, and you would also pull out this villager werewolf card. Then the night phase comes. The Grand Inquisitor chooses a row of cards and tells everyone to close their eyes. So, here's the Grand Inquisitor. He says, choose that first row that only has 2 cards, right? So, he picks up these cards, tells everyone to close their eyes, and then the cards are handed around the table, and everyone pretends to shuffle them. But the werewolves are allowed to open their eyes and look at the cards. The werewolves place the resident that they want to eat on the bottom of the stack. Well, this isn't good for the werewolves because they're both werewolves, so a werewolf's going to be eaten by the werewolves in this case. Why don't we just pick another card? Ah, there we go. The witch. So they place the witch on the bottom of the stack, facing down. And this way, when it makes its way back to the Grand Inquisitor, the whole stack of cards, everyone opens their eyes, and the bottom card is eliminated. The witch is dead! Along with the hut that goes with them. The other cards are placed back in the row that they came from. Now, once 2 rows are reduced to 1 card, then those 2 rows are combined into a new row. Okay, so you never really have a bunch of rows with just 1 card. The play continues until the werewolves are all killed or the residents are outnumbered. That's it. That's how you play Ultimate Werewolf Inquisition.
I love the fact that you don't need to deal with player elimination anymore. It's a different experience than playing regular werewolf, but just as fun. Remember, this version requires a table to play on as opposed to regular werewolf that you can just play in a group of people standing together. I found the sweet spot for number of players to be around 6. That's enough to have fun sitting around the table without crowding each other out. It's still fun regardless of the number of players, though, and everyone gets to play for the full game. You will find yourselves many times taking a shot in the dark as to which resident to pick on your turn. There just aren't enough ways for everyone to find out who is who, so you'll either be guessing or relying on someone else to tell you the truth. As in the original Werewolf, lying and convincing can play a big part of the game. Everyone can chat it up and lie about who is and who isn't as much as they want, as long as they don't actually show any cards. Ultimate Werewolf Inquisition is fun, good for different numbers of players, quick to play, and easy to learn. It's fairly inexpensive too, so if you like these types of games, then you should really enjoy this one. If you stayed away from Werewolf because of the player elimination problem, then this version is perfect for you. One final warning. Be careful when everyone closes their eyes and passes the cards. Each player should make some sort of noise so that you can't figure out who the werewolf is just by listening to see if someone looks at the cards. Also, you might knock something over. So keep breakables away from the card passing area. Thank you for joining me for this review of Ultimate Werewolf Inquisition from Bezier Games. Let me know if you found this review helpful by leaving a comment or sending me an email at elliott_miller@voiceofe.com. Make sure to subscribe to the Voice of E channel on YouTube, like the Voice of E on Facebook, buy Voice of E crunchy cereal at conventions, and visit our website at voiceofe.com, as I'll have plenty of gaming, entertainment, and comic book coverage this year, and it should be a lot of fun. Thanks again, and until next time, keep your mind.
Get me that 6. We need more power.